Welcome to Parasha Study, Parashat Vayhi. Today I'd like to do something a little bit different than we normally do. Look at a whole series of Pesukim, a conversation between Yosef and Yaakov. We'll look at the conversation, we'll ask a couple of questions, and we'll see what Rashi does in a very genius way in order to answer the questions that are presented by the Pesukim. We have Yaakov and Yosef are talking. This time it's the second conversation that they're having. The first conversation, Yaakov already asked Yosef to bury him in Egypt, and Yosef swear to him. This time, Yaakov is sick. Yosef hears about it. He comes and he brings Menashe and Ephraim to go get a beracha from Yaakov. And Yaakov starts speaking to him. ויאמר יעקב אל יוסף אל שדי נראה אלי בלוז בארץ כנען ויברך אותי. God appeared to me, gave me a ברכה. ויאמר אלי הנני מפלך והרביתיך נתית לקהל עמים ונתתי את הארץ הזאת לזרעך אחריך חזת עולם. I'm going to make you into kal amin, right? So I'm going to expand you. Now this is, keep in mind, this is beluz be'eretz Canaan. This is what after Yaakov already has 11 of the 12 shivatim. And Hashem is promising him, I'm going to make you into a kahal amim, implying there's going to be more people that you're going to have, and I'm going to give you this land as an inheritance. And therefore, Yaakov tells you, Yosef, they're going to be, and this is obviously based off of Rashi, but this is not the part we're going to focus on, they're going to be the children that were promised to me. Ephraim and Menashe, who are born to you, they're going to be considered my children because God promised me I'm going to have more children. I didn't have more children, so I'm selecting Ephraim and Menashe to be my kahal amin. But any other children that you have past Ephraim and Menashe, they're going to be considered your children. They're not going to be considered my children. They're not going to be part of the Shivati. So in different words, Yaakov comes, tells Yosef, by the way, Ephraim and Menashe, they're considered my children for the purposes of getting the halah in Eretz Yisrael, the land that Hashem promised me. Okay, fine, very nice, beautiful. And this makes sense. We would expect that the next thing that will come is Yosef tells them, okay, they're here, please give them a beracha. And which indeed happens a little bit later. Hamal acha go'eluti. But then Yaakov adds in a pasuk that's very odd. When I was coming from Padan, back from Lavan's house, meta alay Rachel, be'eretz Canaan baderech, be'od kivrat eretz lavo Efrata, v'at bereh Hashem, b'derech Efrat, he b'lachim. When I was coming from Padan, Rachel died in the land of Canaan on the road, a distance away, kivrat eretz, a distance away from Efrat. Rashi assumes it's a small distance. Ramban agrees that it's a small distance once he gets to the land and sees where it is. And Yaakov says, Hashem, I buried her there in the Efrat Hibit Lachem. And then he goes, Yosef, and then he looks at the children of Yosef. Well, the obvious question is, Yaakov, what are you talking about? Why are you mentioning, in the middle of a speech about how important Ephraim and Menashe are to you, why are you mentioning the idea that Rachel died in Derech Efrat, and you had to bury her there? Who cares? What does this have to do with anything? And then he moves on. Oh, all of a sudden he takes on Yisrael. No, the pasuk Gimel is called Yaakov. Now it's Yisrael, like this more prophetic way, ready to give a beracha. He sees Bnei Yosef, Yosef el Aviv, Bneihem. They're my children. Asher natan li Elohim bazeh, that God gave to me. Oh, very good. I'll come. I'll give them a beracha. Okay. What do you mean? You didn't know the Yaakov's children? Seemingly the pshat of the text. He didn't know. Why not? Because pasuk Yud comes to explain a little bit later. He can't see, and like as an explanation why he didn't know who was in front of him. He brings them to him. He kisses them. He tells, and then he continues and he tells Yosef, and Yosef, I never anticipated even being able to see your face again. God has seen me, shown me your descendants as well. Okay, cool. Very nice. So, the first question, why is Yaakov in the process of naming Ephraim and Menashe part of his 12 sons? Why is he telling Yosef about Rachel? Rashi says something fascinating. V'ani bevu'i padan, Rashi introduces and says, אף על פי שאני מטריח עליך וללכני כבד בארץ כנען, ולקח עשיתי לאמך, שהרי סמוך לבית לחם מתה, right? And how סמוך כבדת ארץ, מידת ארץ, 2,000 אמה, כמידת החום שבת, and then, Shed Darshan, right? He goes, I know I'm asking you to bury me in Eretz Canaan, even though I didn't do the same thing to your mother, right? To go burden yourself, but I didn't burden myself when I was burying your mother. I buried her samuch lebeit lechem, 2,000 amah outside of the city, which is a small amount. It's about a 15-minute walk. But lo tomar she'akivu alay geshamim. Don't say that it was rainy and therefore they delayed me from not being able to reach the city and to go take her to Hebron, which is close to Beit Lehem, so I could have done that. Even that I could have done, not just bury her in Beit Lehem. Right? It was the time of the summertime, which the land was dry, and from the word kivara, kivrat, and it's the word kivara, the land was dried out, and therefore I was able to take her. I didn't take her though, but I buried her on the road. So there's two things. A, I didn't take her to Hebron, to Ma'arat al-Makhbilah. B, I didn't even take her to the city to be buried in the city of Efrat, which was right next to her. Even though they're both close, obviously the city of Efrat, Beit Lehem, closer to than Hebron, but they were both close. I could have taken her to both places. Like Bereh Hashem, but derech, right? Stressing the fact. I know you're upset with me. Know that I did it al pi Hashem. Why? When they go to exile, she's going to help her children. How? They're going to pass that way outside of the land of Yehuda. And she's going to come and cry for them and ask for mercy for them. And quotes a pasuk from Yeshayahu, Kol baraman yishma, Rahel mevakal baneha. V'kadosh baruch hu yeshivah. Hashem answers, don't worry, your children are going to return. So how do we get here? Rashi, off this one pasuk that Yaakov randomly, seemingly inserts in the discussion, Rashi makes a whole story of it. So let's go back to our story. Let's see what could happen. Let's see what our options are here. He's talking about Menashe and Ephraim having the Una Hala, and it's so beautiful. And he says, then Rachel died and I buried her there. Now, there's some commentators who want to answer, you know why he's telling them that? He's telling Yosef that because he's saying, look, I ended up burying her in the land that's going to be the land of Ephraim and Menashe. That's what some commentators try to say. It doesn't seem to be Ephrat. It seems to be, depending upon where we understand it, Ephrati. Is it in the land of Ephraim? Is it in the land of Beit Lehem, where we know it's in the tribe of Yehuda? But some people try to make that claim. Okay. Rashi says no. No. What's happening here? It's clear Yaakov is apologizing to Yosef in a way. That sorry I buried her there. And in contrast to the request that he's asking Yosef to go make sure to bury him. Now, he didn't ask. The problem is that was a previous conversation. So it seems to be in this way. Yosef might think that might be confused in a sense. Because you're telling me that Ephraim and Menashe, you love them so much, they're the two grandchildren you select in order to be considered your children, to be the fulfillment of God's promise that we spoke about in Pasuk Dalet and Hey. Yosef is wondering, wait a minute, do you really love me that much? Do you really love the children of Rachel that much? You didn't bury her with you in Ma'arat HaMachpelah. You buried Leah in Ma'arat HaMachpelah instead. Meaning, and it's a fascinating idea, that Yosef, once he's already in the framework of thinking about burial, Yaakov insisting he's being buried in Ma'arat HaMachpelah. So even though there's this different discussion about how much he loves Ephraim and Menashe, there's something bothering Yosef. You didn't bury my mother in Ma'arat HaMachpelah. Do you really love my children that much? It sounds like you do, but why didn't you do that? So Yaakov feels the need, anticipating these questions that Yosef has about the love of his father. Yaakov feels the need to explain to Yosef. And he tells him, listen, I want you to know something. I could have very easily done it. And this is in contrast to other Mefarshim who explain otherwise. Rashi interprets, yeah. She's not on the road, very close to Efrat. They could have buried her in Efrat. They could have even taken her to Beit Lehem. I could have taken her to Hebron. They buried her, but no. I made the active decision to bury Sham, to bury her there. Where is it? B'derech Efrat, on the road, specifically next to Beit Lehem. I purposely made the decision. It was a conscious decision, says Yaakov. Now, if Yaakov is trying to explain himself, he didn't do a good job of saying that, oh, I purposely buried her there. Don't be upset. Don't think I don't love you. Of course I love you. I love her. But I purposely, what do you mean? So why? Right? Especially if we read, Kivrat Eretz is a small distance, which it seems to be. That's what we know the geography of Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, there's clearly something missing here. And the rabbis point out to this insistence on the word bederich. Bederich, twice it says it in the pasuk. It says the word sham, emphasizing the spot, that there's something about that spot that she needed to be there. And the only thing it happens to be, what do we know about it? We don't know. But we definitely insert a concept of prophecy to Yaakov, which all the berachot that he's going to give his children are prophetic. And therefore, when we find out later on in Sefer Yirmiyahu that it happens to be that there's a connection to where Rachel is buried, she's calling out to her for her children, the Shavu Banim Lihulam, and it's fascinating, but it's referring to the Galut of the tribe of Yehuda, which are not really her children, but that's a whole other discussion about the greatness of Rachel Imenu. She's going to pray for them. And the spot that she is bringing up the zechut of Rachel Imenu at that point in time when Am Yisrael are going to Galut, it's a very deep midrash. There's a lot to talk about. Why is she, out of all of the 7 Avot Imahot, she's the one specifically mentioned? But part of our answer is that she is telling us that she's the one who's physically present there and not in Hebron and Ma'arat HaMachpelah. There's more to that midrash as well. But note how Rashi is reading into a pasuk, realizing, sensing it's out of place, sensing its lack of connection, and finding deeper meaning to the pasuk in order to make it work within the context that he's explaining something to Yosef, and Yosef should be happy about the explanation of what he's trying to tell him. The next Rashi, he does something interesting. When it says, Vayhi Yisrael b'nei Yosef, and he asks me, Ele, and Yosef tells his father, they're my children that God gave me. And then he says, bless them. So, which we explain simply, probably because Yaakov can't see, but Rashi says differently. He wanted to give a berachah to them because he knew who they were. But the Shekhinah removes from him. Because he lost the Shekhinah, because they're going to be evil kings, Yerovam, Ahav, who worship Avodah Zarah and lead Am Yisrael towards ultimately destruction, the 10 tribes, and towards Avodah Zarah and destruction. Yehu and Banav from the tribe of Menashe, these are the main dynasties. Yerovam, Ahav, and Yehu are the main dynasties of the kings of the 10 tribes, and they lead to ultimately to destruction. So Yaakov foresees this, and he loses his ability to prophetically bless them because of the evil that he sees stemming from them. Where'd they come from? You have children, they're not worthy of beracha. This is going to be their future generations. And Yosef says, no, God gave me through this. He gave me these children. What through this? And she says, he showed him look, we're properly married. And maybe a little bit of an indication, I didn't sin with the mother, as the mother of Osnat tried to seduce me. Well, because Yosef prays, and the Ruach HaKodesh comes upon him. Okay, Rashi, what are you doing here? It's very simple. He can't see. That's it. Why are you inserting this whole thing? So it seems to be that she was bothered. But look at the Pesukim. In Pasuk Het and Pasuk Te, he sees them. Who are they? And he says, Banayhim, that God gave me. Whoa, what's happening? Hey, we already know in Pasuk Hey that he knows Ephraim and Menashe, Yaakov uses their names. So he knows who they are. Pasuk Hey is saying he sees them. And he asks them, who are they? And Yosef says, they're my children. that God gave to me bazeh. What are you saying, Yosef? This say the Ephraim and the Menashe. Why my children? So Ephraim and Menashe. Also, and I think this is the most perhaps important part, only in Pasuk Yud does it tell us that he's blind, which sets us up for Yaakov switching his hands. Yosef thinks he's making a mistake, and Yaakov could correct him. But what's happening is, if Pasuk Yud is really relevant to our understanding of Pasukim Het and Ted, put it beforehand, as the Torah will often do. Let us know Yaakov is blind, and therefore he can't see the children of Yosef. Therefore, he can't see them. But instead, no, it says something odd. He sees them, but Yarisel himself, he's capable enough of seeing them. And Yosef understands that when he's asking me Ele, he's not really asking about who are they, because he doesn't name them Ephraim and Menashe. This is Banayim. There could be a million different people. It could be he has other children, but rather it seems to imply that he doesn't name them Ephraim and Menashe, but Yosef understands very well what's happening here. Right? When you're talking about the name Yisrael, we're talking about a prophetic vision. And this is what Rashi is understanding, reading into the text to the T, in order to make sure that we don't give some superficial understanding to the text, but derive meaning from it. How could it be, if you're getting a beracha, how could it be you have evil people coming from you to such a degree that you're going to read the destruction of the 10 Shivatim? And it's funny because later on, when Yaakov switches the hands, he says, I know they're going to be great, but Ephraim is going to be greater than Menashe. Why? Because Ephraim is going to have Yehoshua, whereas the greatest person from Menashe is Gideon. So, okay, Yehoshua is greater than Gideon. So it's fascinating because Rashi is hinting to it. Are they all evil? No. And it's showing us the complexity of Judaism. You have Ephraim, you have Menashe. They have Yehoshua and Gideon on one hand. They have Yeravam, Ahav, and Yehu on the other hand. Meaning things are complicated, destinies are complicated, and therefore it's something the Midrash draws us to through the Torah writing and Rashi turning our eyes, opening our eyes to pay close attention to the text. We're able to think about the complexities of what it means, the mixed legacies of Ephraim and Menashe, which is something worthy of discussing as well. So hopefully these ideas were thought-provoking, how to read a biblical text, how to read a conversation, and Azat Hashem, how to use the Midrash to kind of open our eyes to think about deeper ideas, which we just ask the questions, but it's not within the purview of our discussion today. But definitely, I think what to think about based off these Rashis, and have a good day.